Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astottara Satashvi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astottara Satashvi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गिराधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायपुर धाम की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the lotus feet, Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistuki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. And we'll be reciting text 7 and 8. 8 we'll do together. Okay. So I'll read text 7 and then we'll do text 8 normally together. Priyavrata Uthana Pado Sattarupa Pate Suto Vasudevasya Kalaya Rakshayam Jagata Stito. Translation. Swayam Bhuva Manu had 2 sons by his wife Sattarupa, and the names of the sons were Uthanapada and Priyavrata. Because both of them were descendants of a plenary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were very much competent to rule the universe, to maintain and protect the citizens. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is said these 2 kings, Uthanapada and Priyavrata, were specifically empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unlike the great King Rishabha, who was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So now we will do text 8, word for word. Jaye Utana Padasya Suniti Surichis Tayor Surichi Preyashi Patyur Netara Yatsuto Dhruvaha Jaye Utana Padasya Suniti Surachistayor Surichi Preyashi Patyor Netra Yatasuto Dhruvaha Jaye Utana Padasya Suniti Surachistayor Surichi Preyashi Patyor Netara Yatsuta Dhruvaha Jaye Utana Padasya Suniti Surichistayor Surichi Preyashi Patyor Netara Yatsuta Dhruvaha. Jaye of the two wives, Utana Padasya of King Utana Pada, Suniti, Suniti, Suruchi, Suruchi, Tayor of both of them, Surichi, Surichi, Preyashi, very dear, Patyur of the husband, Naitara, not the other, Yat, whose, Sutta, son, Dhruvaha, Dhruva. Translation. King Uttanapada had two queens named Suniti and Surichi. Surichi was very much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. Please repeat. King Uttanapada had two queens named Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi was very much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya wanted to describe the pious activities of the kings. Priyavrata was the first son of Swayambhuva Manu, and Uttanapada was the second. But the great sage Maitreya immediately began to speak of Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Uttanapada, because Maitreya was very eager to describe pious activities. The incidents in the life of Dhruva Maharaj are very attractive for devotees. From his pious actions, one can learn how one can detach himself from material possessions and how one can enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. By hearing the activities of pious Dhruva, one can enhance one's faith in God and can directly connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus one can very soon be elevated to the transcendental platform of devotional service. The example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurul Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Satadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatharine Vancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Titanam Pabhinebhyo Vaishnavpeyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation. King Uttanapada had two queens named Suniti and Surichi. Surichi was much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favorite. This is the beginning of another wonderful pastime and a very inspiring and instructive chapter in the life of Dhruva Maharaj. And this is how beautiful the Srimad Bhagavatam is that from the previous canto and previous chapters, we are taken again to more higher levels through these pastimes. Bhagavad Gita is the A, B, C, D of spiritual understanding. But Srimad Bhagavatam is on a higher level because it describes the activities of the Lord in His different incarnations and also the pastimes of the great devotees of the Lord. And here in this chapter, we are now beginning to hear of another great devotee, the pastimes of another great devotee, Dhruva Maharaj. So yeah, in the beginning we hear of the king Uttanapada. He had two queens and he favored one more than the other. And Dhruva Maharaj, we hear, is the son of the queen that's not so popular or did not get much attention or the same attention as the first queen. So it will be a beautiful pastime that unfolds, and we'll see hear some very beautiful instructions that we should try and follow in our practice of Krishna consciousness and in our general lives as well. Prabhupada writes in the purport, the great sage Maitreya wanted to describe the pious activities of kings. So this is how we understand Vedic culture or the spiritual knowledge coming from the Vedas. And the kings were the most important persons. We'll read in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says in chapter 4, verse 2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasayo vidu sa kalenaha mahata yoga nasta parantapa. Krishna says, this supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it appears to be lost. Prabhupada writes, it is clearly stated that the Gita was specifically meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizens. So this is very important. That Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all spiritual knowledge, was given to the saintly kings. And they were meant to assimilate the knowledge, and with that knowledge they were meant to rule over the citizens. And we can see when we go back and study the Vedas or the Vedic histories, we'll see that the planets and the universes were all ruled by saintly kings. There was no thought of demoniac kings. When there was demoniac kings, there was a rise of irreligion, then Krishna personally appeared himself. So, pious kings, they ruled over the citizens. They were so great that they would ride through their kingdoms that they were ruling over and to check if everything was going well, to check if the citizens were doing well. If someone, there was some problem with someone or there was some difficulty, they would take the blame themselves. They would say, this happened because of me. This is how great the kings were. And they of course, the greatest example is Lord Ramachandra. Krishna comes in the form of an ideal king, and he sets the example of a perfect ruler. Also now you'll find Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita that still people want, especially in India, they want Ram Rajya. They want the rule of Lord Ram. So this is how Krishna comes and he sets the example as an ideal king, as Lord Ram. There's a nice conversation on the Bhagavad Gita, also on this chapter, on chapter 4 in Los Angeles in 1969. Prabhupada responds to a question from a devotee. Prabhupada, he quotes this verse, Evam parampara praptam emam rajasayu vidu. This knowledge, this transcendental knowledge was imparted formally to the kings because the kings were very responsible for the welfare of the citizens. When the kings were not responsible, then gradually the government by the people was introduced. This is what we experience now. Otherwise, formerly the kings were very responsible, especially for the advancement of transcendental knowledge of the citizens. Evam param para praptam emam rajasayu. Rajashya means the sages among the kings. Although they were in royal order, they were very saintly persons. There were many examples like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit. They were emperor of the world, but still so pious, so religious, and so advanced in transcendental knowledge that there is no comparison. So especially meant that this was taught to the kings. The royal order were very pious and advanced in spiritual knowledge. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai, Yashoda Damodar ki jai, Gaur Hari ki jai, Tulsi Maharani ki jai, Guru Parampara ki jai. In this conversation, Srila Prabhupada makes a very nice point. When the kings were not responsible, then gradually the government by the people was introduced. What this means, government by the people, means voting. We all experience this all over the world. And different candidates would present their manifesto to the people or what they can do for the people, and then people will vote either for this person or that person. And also there's sometimes so much violence, and then people are elected into government. This is what it means, government by the people. So you place someone in government who can satisfy your sense gratification. That's what it means. They will package their presentation so nicely that they will include at least something that you want. And it's basically sense gratification. Originally we find, especially in the Vedic culture, and what we are reading about saintly kings, is that they were meant to educate the citizens spiritually. So by you receiving spiritual knowledge, you'll be able to understand who you are. We are not these bodies, we are spirit souls living in this body. You'll have a clear understanding of what your purpose in life will be. That is to end the cycle of birth and death. So this is the greatness of the pious kings in the Vedic times, that they would make sure, as Prabhupada said, otherwise formerly the kings were very responsible, especially for the advancement of transcendental knowledge of the citizens. So this is pious kings. These are the real leaders, which unfortunately are not, we don't have at the moment. We have kings, And the kingdom is supported by the government. The government will give the kings and they people salaries, so they'll be happy. And but the kings are no longer prominent. They no longer have much say with the local people. So they are simply being supported by the government. And as a result, the kingdom is just there to say, okay, this was originally this land of these people, and there was a king. But the governments all over the world, and especially where there were kings, the government are actually ruling, not the kings. And when the government rules, they simply try to satisfy the sense gratification of the people. They will simply want to work hard, they want to enjoy without God consciousness. And as a result, they cannot satisfy everyone. They cannot satisfy everyone. And you'll find also that the people who vote for these leaders in government, they become frustrated. And they think, I put this person in power. Now he's enjoying. He's got a private airplane. He flies around the world. He has big houses all over the country. He has the best of everything, but I'm still in my own position. There's no change to my position. I still have to work hard. Sometimes there's no job. Even if I have the best education, there's also the threat of unemployment. So people begin to think, these people in government, they have the best of everything, and we put them there, but we are still in our position. There's no improvement in our life. And this is what leads to crime. They begin to steal. And as a result of this crime, the government is very lenient, because they know these people put us into power. And we are enjoying, but their position hasn't improved. So the government is very lenient on crime. And therefore, this makes weak government. Very weak government. And as a result of this, there's frustration, there's so much chaos. Prabhupada says that when in society there is no head, which is the Brahmanical class, there will be chaos in society. And this is what we see all over the world, chaos. Because there's no head basically. It's basically those who are the heads are the sense gratification or the desires for sense gratification of the people on the ground who put them in power so they can satisfy their sense gratification. And this doesn't happen. And as a result, all over the world, even in the so-called first world countries, there is so much chaos. And each time they will have to elect a new leader, and he presents another version of sense gratification. You vote for me, you'll get this, you'll get that, you'll have the opportunity for this. So people try and they become frustrated, and then they keep on implementing and changing laws. So it is very difficult. And this is what we are reading of what Prabhupada is saying is so true. When the kings or leaders were not responsible, then gradually government by the people was introduced. So the leaders, as Prabhupada often said, and he also wanted us to invite the so-called leaders, the big men, for our festivals and for our programs, and to come to our centers so they can hear this philosophy at what it means to be a leader. You have to educate those who are subjugated or those who are under you spiritually, so they can make spiritual advancement. And we will read later on in this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj that when he left home and he wanted a kingdom greater than his father, but when he met Lord Vishnu, this whole idea was changed. He fully surrendered to Lord Vishnu or Krishna. So our leaders are not pious, there's so much, by what we've learned from Prabhupada, sinful activity. When there's sinful activity, individually or collectively as a country, you'll find there will be reactions. People, there's only suffering. Dukhalyam ashashvatam. There's only suffering and people are not happy. Only those who are in knowledge, like many of us, we can tolerate whatever happens, and because we accept it as the Lord's mercy, we accept it as the Lord's plan to bring us closer to Him. Immediately in the outside world, there will be protests, there will be complaints, and then government is stuck on what to do. So because unfortunately, again, what we read, the leaders are not pious, they are not devotees, they have no spiritual knowledge. So how will they lead the people? They can only lead the people by making promises for their sense gratification, which leads to entanglement in this world. And Prabhupada gives examples of Maharaj Yudhishthira and Maharaj Parikshit. Prabhupada says they were emperor of the world, but still so pious, so religious, and so advanced in transcendental knowledge that there is no comparison. And we'll find that during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira, people were so, that was just like recently, maybe 5,000 years ago. People were still so pious, they were so happy, they were content, because they were educated spiritually. And as a result of this spiritual education, they knew that their home was in the spiritual world. And this was just a temporary situation. So our real pious leader, our real pious king is Srila Prabhupada. Because he has given us this spiritual knowledge where we can understand these things, that we can discern our temporary situation from our real situation. Prabhupada continues in the purport in today's verse. The incidents in the life of Dhruva Maharaj are very attractive for devotees. From his pious actions, one can learn how to detach himself from material possessions and how one can enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. By hearing the activities of pious Dhruva, one can enhance one's faith in God and can directly connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus one can very soon be elevated to the transcendental platform of devotional service. The example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. So Prabhupada also, he makes a very nice point about how one can detach himself from material possessions and how one can enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. So this is required, Prabhupada is saying. How one can learn how to detach himself from material possessions. That's required. Then the next point, and how one can enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. We may wonder what is this austerities and penances and how to become detached. But Prabhupada has given such a wonderful process that if we follow the process, we'll automatically achieve this, becoming detached. And the austerities, the austerities that we perform, there's no meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. We don't have to do anything artificial. We simply stick to that. We follow our mentors, our senior devotees, our gurus, and we follow Prabhupada. Then we will be in the safe position. One very nice example, there are many examples of great devotees who became immediately detached from material possessions, and they performed great austerities and penances. But one more recent is Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. He's a great devotee. He was an intimate associate of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Raghunath Das Goswami was the only child, he was the only son of a great wealthy family. His parents, practically the entire family were landowners. And they were considered billionaires because at that time, India, 500 years ago, was ruled by Muslims. And that area, West Bengal, was a Muslim king. And his family had a very good relationship. His parents had very good relationship with the Muslim king, and the Muslim king allowed them lots of land, vast tracts of land. And because they were so closely associated with the king, they became little kings themselves in the land that they owned. And they were able to set up laws, they were able to collect taxes, and they were able to keep a percentage of the taxes for themselves. So they were very, very opulent and rich. So Raghunath Das Goswami, from a very young age, his parents saw that he had no interest. And he was like the only child. That means that ultimately everything would come to him. Millions and billions of dollars. That's how rich they were. And but he had no interest. And by the mercy of the family priest, of the family guru, Raghunath Das Goswami, he met Haridas Thakur, who was another intimate follower of Lord Chaitanya. And immediately when Raghunath Das Goswami met Lord Chaitanya, he fully surrendered. And Lord Chaitanya advised him, no, you go back home and you live with your family. There'll come a time when you'll experience the full mercy of the Lord. And in this way, Raghunath Das Goswami, he went back home, and he began to do everything very nicely. Because few occasions he ran away from home and they brought him back. He ran away from home and they brought him back. And in this way, after this first instruction of Lord Chaitanya, Raghunath Das Goswami, he went back and he began to do all his household duties very nicely. And up to the point where his parents got him married to a very beautiful young girl. She was considered like the goddess of fortune. And but still he became detached after a while. He would live outside their house and things like that. So again his parents saw him, that now again he was becoming detached and showing no interest in the family business and things like that. So, and they knew that very soon he's going to run away from home. So they employed about 10 guards to make sure he doesn't leave home. So Raghunath Das Goswami was thinking, how will I get out? I cannot continue like this, artificially making a show. And somehow at one point, the family priest had to leave to attend to some personal errands. He had to do something personally, and so he approached Raghunath Das Goswami and to go and see another priest who would continue with the worship of the temple, of the family deity. So the priest, along with Raghunath Das, they left one day. So when the guards saw that Raghunath Das Goswami was living with the pujari, with the priest, they did not do anything because they knew that this was the priest. And so Raghunath Das Goswami took this opportunity to run away from home. So he left, and Lord Chaitanya at that time was in Jagannath Puri. So he knew that if he went to Jagannath Puri, his parents would send the guards collect him, to follow him and eventually bring him back. So he went in another direction, a roundabout way to Jagannath Puri. So no one was able, he went into the jungles and forests where practically no one goes. And in this way, he went to Jagannath Puri without being caught. So when he got to Jagannath Puri, he was fortunate to go to a place called Gambhira where Lord Chaitanya was staying. And Lord Chaitanya was happy to see Raghunath Das Goswami. And then he inquired about him, and then now Raghunath Das Goswami, he told Lord Chaitanya, "No, I'm finished now, I want to fully surrender unto you, and I'll fully serve you." So Lord Chaitanya said, "I don't know much, but you take shelter of my servant Swarup Damodar. He is a great scholar and he practices, so he'll be able to instruct you." So Raghunath Das Goswami, in a very humble way, he accepted this, and he became the servant of Swarup Damodar Prabhu, or Swarup Damodar Goswami. And in this way, he was learning from Swarup Damodar Goswami. And at one point, at one meeting, whenever he would come for darshan of Lord Chaitanya, Raghunath Das Goswami wouldn't say anything. He would just stay quiet. He would just listen. He was part of the audience, and he would just listen. And this happened many times. But on one occasion, he actually asked, in the presence of Lord Chaitanya, Raghunath Das Goswami asked Swarup Damodar to ask Lord Chaitanya a question. So Lord Chaitanya heard this question. It's a very nice question with a nice reply. Just read that out to you. One day, Raghunatha approached Mahaprabhu and asked, at least through Swarup Damodar, "You have managed to make me leave home, but now what is my best benefit?" Very nice question. Raghunath Das Goswami asks of Lord Chaitanya, "You've asked me to leave home. You've brought me here. You've made me leave home. But now, what is my best benefit? If you please tell me in your own words, my heart will be satisfied." Very nice question. Raghunath Das Goswami asks Lord Chaitanya, "Now, what is my best benefit?" Lord Chaitanya replies, "Gramya kata na sunibe, gramya vrata na khahibe, bala na khaibe ara, bala na paribe, amani manada hanya Krishna nama, sada labhe, vraje Radha Krishna seva, manase kharibe." The translation is, don't indulge in worldly talk. Don't hear worldly talk. Try your best to avoid mundane matters. Don't eat delicious food, but take whatever ordinary food that may come of its own accord. And don't dress luxuriously. Always try to take the name of Krishna and the attitude of giving respect to others without expecting respect from anyone. Be humble and never aspire for respectful dealings from others. In this way, try to take the name of Krishna constantly, and within try to serve Shri Shri Radha Krishna in Vrindavan. Mentally, be in Vrindavan rendering service to Shri Shri Radha Krishna Leela. Such wonderful advice that we should all try to follow again. from Lord Chaitanya to Raghunath Das Goswami. We see in the life of Raghunath Das Goswami how he became detached from material possessions, and the austerities he performed when he was in Jagannath Puri. He lived like in a hut, and he would go and beg outside the Jagannath temple. This is a son of a billionaire. This is his detachment. This is his austerities that he performed. We don't have to do that. But the advice that Lord Chaitanya is saying, mentally be in Vrindavan, rendering service to Shri Shri, Radha and Krishna Leela. We don't have to go and live in Vrindavan because we may not like the place after some time. But Lord Chaitanya is saying, be humble and never aspire for respectful dealings from others. In this way, try to take the name of Krishna constantly. So, a very nice verse from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the benediction that Raghunath Das Goswami had, or he received from Lord Chaitanya for the austerities and his detachment from this world. We'll stop there and we'll take your questions and comments. Hare Krishna. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.